Hey, what's going on, beautiful black people? How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And a lot of you may know this about me. If you back when I before I stopped watching the NFL, I don't watch the NFL because it's racist. The way they treated Colin Kaepernick screwed up. Also, I'm a little bit concerned about all the brain damage the brothers are getting from the NFL, as well as the I am now brokenness that's kind of happening when brothers end up on the TV show broke after the NFL pretty much sold them a big dream and left them with nothing. Before I stopped watching the NFL, I was actually a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I grew up as a Cowboys fan. Also, Ohio State University. I'm an alumni of Ohio State. I finished my doctorate there a few years ago. So I follow Ohio State. I follow the Cowboys. Last year, I was excited to see the Cowboys have one of their greatest seasons of all time. A big part of the reason that they had a great season was due to a young man by the name of Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I was excited to see Zeke's success. He reminded me a lot of Maurice Claret, who played a few years ago, who I feel honestly to this day, I feel like he was screwed by the system. I think that they could have guided that young man in a different way, but they didn't. But, that kind of goes back to, and you've probably heard me talk about this, that E40 song, they'll find a new nigga next year. Well, that's pretty much the way you can sum up professional sports. It's the biggest plantation in the world. The racism is through the roof. There's no respect for black men. You see what's happening with Colin Kaepernick and the way they've effectively blackballed him. So I don't believe that there is a place for the black man in the NFL unless you want to be somebody's cattle or somebody's scapegoat. Now, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about this situation with Ezekiel. Now, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. I'm gonna give you my honest sequence of thoughts in terms of how I processed it all as it was happening. Ezekiel was accused of something that is unforgivable. He's accused of domestic violence, accused of hitting a woman. I have daughters. I don't approve of that. I don't support that. I think if a man hits a woman, he's a punk. So just know that, brothers. Just if you're listening, brothers, just know there's no reason for you to put your hands on that woman ever unless you have to do it to defend your life. That's why I also encourage you, brothers, to stay away from drugs and alcohol, because drugs and alcohol will make you do things that'll have you looking like a big asshole the next morning. So if you don't want to end up in prison for the next 30 years for something that you don't even remember doing, don't fall for what, people are telling you about drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is rated the most dangerous drug in the world. And the reason it's considered the most dangerous drug in the world, according to recent studies, is because people think it's safe. And I know a lot of people who have gotten into horrible situations because of alcohol and drugs. Shot at the club, done killed somebody at the club because some dude stepping on your shoe or whatever. And it's just stupid. It's wasteful. It's sad. A lot of lives have been lost due to drugs and alcohol. Now, with that said, this doesn't now does this apply to Ezekiel's situation? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't read anything about Ezekiel being under the influence when all this happened, but I do know when Ray Rice had his little situation, there was some alcohol involved, and I think Ray regrets that. I also think that there's roid rage with all the steroids the athletes have to take, as well as brain damage. I think brain damage could play a part as well. I do believe the majority of the NFL athletes do have brain damage, even the young ones. So with that said, I was reading the story about Ezekiel, and I read that he was in trouble for domestic violence. And I remember thinking, man, I hope he didn't do this. If he did, then he should be punished. He was suspended for 6 games from the NFL for allegedly getting into this crazy situation with his girlfriend, this big fight, whatever, that happened over the course of it looked like a week. The NFL spent an entire year investigating. And at that point, I just kind of did a little video about it, just kind of like warning brothers about, again, I can't presume Ezekiel did it or not. I do know that the prosecutor didn't actually press charges, which really speaks to the shakiness of the evidence. It speaks to either the shakiness of the evidence or it speaks to the preferential treatment of Ohio State athletes. Let's not pretend like there are some guys that have gotten away with bad things because they play football. So you don't know which one's going on, right? My goal at the end of the day is to try to understand the truth. But once I see the truth, I will fight for that to the death. I will pursue it to the death. And so I really thought maybe Ezekiel messed up, and I said, man, I hope this is not true because his brother's such a great athlete. So anyway, let me break it down for you. Let me tell you what's going on, what I just read. So I'm looking through my feed, and I see something from my friend Warren Ballantyne, and he mentioned something about Ezekiel's girlfriend. The girlfriend, I don't think they have her name in here because they tend to protect those. They don't protect domestic violence victims all the time. Sometimes they protect domestic violence perpetrators who pretend to be victims. So they have laws where they don't release their names or whatever. But one thing that I think is unfortunate in America is that we pretend like we know who the victim is from the very beginning. We know who the perpetrator is from the very beginning. We don't look at the evidence. We don't look at the information in a logical fashion. We look at it in a politicized fashion. The politics of America today, yesterday, and back for the last 300 years have been that nigga's guilty and that white woman's as pure as the driven fucking snow. Excuse my French. That white woman can't tell a lie. That she can't do nothing wrong. If she says that nigga did it, then he must have did it. That's a Black Wall Street guy burned down because a white woman said that a black man touched her. You have had thousands of black men murdered and lynched for being accused of looking at a white woman. You had Emmett Till, who got his face smashed in to the point where it looked like a brick of concrete because he whistled at a white woman who later on admitted that she told a damn lie. You have it happen all the time. You go to the O.J. Simpson trial. Nobody wanted to spend time really figuring out what actually happened. They just believed that he was guilty, and they were going to go get him. They were going to get him no matter what. When Tiger Woods' crazy ex-wife went upside his head with a golf club, they had Tiger on TV apologizing. Now, I was sitting there thinking, how can he be the one? Wait a minute. If I put a golf club upside somebody's head, ain't nobody going to ask me, well, what did she do to make Boyce put the golf club upside her head? That's not going to happen. I'll be in prison for the next 50 years. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out. See, this is, again, racial bias. Only a white woman can get away with putting a golf club upside somebody's head and then have them apologizing. And it happens over and over. I can keep going down the list. That white woman of Stephen A. Smith's job. When he offended the feminists, she went on Twitter, clearly violated company policy where you're not supposed to disparage brands that are on the ESPN network. Clearly violated company policy, should have been fired. Instead, they made Stephen A. apologize. That is America. That's the country you live in. That's the position of the black man. In America, you've got the black man, the black man, the black woman, the white man, and the white woman. And the white woman is at the top. The black man is at the very bottom. Now, with that said, let me tell you what I saw with the Ezekiel situation. And I know y'all might be waiting for me to get to the point, but I had to lay that out there so you can understand the point before I get into it. So, according to the Star Telegram, Ezekiel's accuser doesn't exactly appear to be the most innocent, sweet little victim that she might proclaim to be. Let me read some of this. So this is an article by Clarence Hill Jr., who says Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott's fight to get his 6-game suspension for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy reduced or eliminated will begin in earnest Tuesday with an official appeal to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. The basics of Elliott's appeal will hinge partly on the testimony of ex-girlfriend Tiffany Thompson. Okay, so they did list her name here. And her threats to, quote-unquote, ruin his career. So he's not the only one that's accused of threatening somebody. She's accused of threatening him. There's no evidence that I know of him threatening her. I don't know of any evidence of him threatening her, but there's clearly evidence of her threatening him through text messages and things like that. So if you look at where's the evidence lie? I mean, based on what I've seen, in terms of evidence of who's threatening who, so far all I've seen is evidence presented that she threatened him. So she says, it says she allegedly threatened to ruin his career. Thompson's domestic violence accusations from July 22nd in Columbus, Ohio, are at the root of the NFL suspension. Elliott, who was not arrested nor charged in the case, so they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him or charge him. Remember, to get an indictment, you need the preponderance of the evidence, which means that if it's 50%, a 50% chance that he's not guilty, 50% chance that he is guilty, that's the balancing mark, right? So if there's a 51% chance that he committed this crime, if there's a 51% chance that, or a preponderance of the evidence that Ezekiel Elliott beat this young woman's ass, then that would lead to an indictment. And when you're black, they don't need 51%, they need about 20%. Because they know that they can get an indictment of a black man, they can get a conviction of a black man. So the prosecutor who saw this case, now there's no evidence I've seen that the prosecutor is buddies with Ezekiel Elliott or his family. The prosecutor said, no, this is not a case. This is not something where we can get an indictment. We're just not going to follow through with this. Now, the NFL, on the other hand, unfortunately, has really become very political. Right now, basically, black people, black men have no rights. You see what's happening with Colin Kaepernick, where these bigots are banning him, which is why I will not watch the NFL this year. I will not watch the Super Bowl. None of that. I'm not going to any Super Bowl parties, so don't invite me to none. I'm gonna hold a super black party. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hold a super black party, and we're gonna celebrate blackness. I'll be watching Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league. I ain't watching the NFL no more. Don't have to watch it. Don't want to watch it. But anyway, so the NFL is under this political pressure where black men have no rights, but the feminists have all the rights. Right now, they're under a lot of pressure over domestic violence issues, so it became very political. So I believe this suspension came from the politics, from the political pressure, the court of public opinion, which is typically weighted against the black man and in favor of the white female feminist. But let me keep reading. The Columbus City prosecutor said he didn't believe that he could make a case because of conflicting and inconsistent information. So this conflicting information is he said, she said. Now, to me, here's the thing. If she's lying, why is she going to get arrested? Why is she not on her way to prison? If you are lying in such a way that might ruin a young man's life, why don't you deserve prison time the same way he would deserve prison time if he hit you in your jaw one time? If I had a choice between working for something for 25 years and having it taken away versus getting punched in the jaw one time, I take the punch in the jaw. I take 10 punches in the jaw if that will keep me from losing something I've worked for 25 years. So she's threatened him and said, I'll ruin your career. And I'm going to keep going. There's more to this article. That's not all that there is. She said, I will ruin your career. And based on what is presented here, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, she was mad. She was a disgruntled woman who was upset that she had been scorned and rejected. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. But let me tell you what's about the politics of it all. You are not in any way allowed, publicly anyway, not on the white man's area, not on white folks' TV, not in CNN and all that. You're not allowed in any way to say anything that will be in favor of black men and disparaging to white women. You're just not allowed to do that. That's why I have to have my own network space. That's why I have to have my own distribution. I cannot go on MSNBC and speak on behalf of black males. I can't even, people like me don't get invited on national TV most of the time unless we're rappers or criminals or athletes. That's all they want to hear from me. Like, look, if the nigga ain't an athlete, we don't want to hear from him. If he ain't 50 Cent or some ignorant rapper talking about some bullshit, we don't want to hear any of that. They don't want to hear from the black professors. They don't want to hear from the black doctors, lawyers, any of that. That's why we created our own distribution channel. And one of the reasons when I read this story, I said, this is why we exist. We exist because we need to give this voice to the voiceless. I'm going to tell you about the politics of it all. I wrote an article a while back on a website we have called Brothers on Sports and Society. It's Boss Sports. And Brothers on Sports and Society, that's what BOSS stands for, BOSS. Was designed so black men could control the conversation. Now, one of the things I wrote on this website was I wrote an article basically warning brothers, like, look, be careful about, slinging your penis to every pretty girl that walks by. Some of these chicks are vicious. Some of these women will ruin your life because you wouldn't call her back. Some of these girls, because they know the game. They know, especially a lot of the white women, they know that if they go to a white man, to a prosecutor's office who really wants to lock niggas up anyway and say, that black man touched me, that black man raped me, that black man did whatever to me, they're going to come get his black ass, ruin his life, and think nothing of it. Your life, let me make it clear, your life is not ruined by just going to prison. That's bad enough, because you go to prison, you get raped repeatedly. Ain't nobody talking about rape victims in prison. Everybody wants to be sensitive to sexual assault outside of prison, but nobody wants to talk about what's happening behind prison walls where people are being raped repeatedly over and over and over again over a 20-year period where they have no recourse, they get no justice, they have no protection, and nobody gives a fuck. Nobody talks about that, but they'll talk all day about a white woman who got her ass touched. Tupac Shakur went to maximum security prison for inappropriate touching. Inappropriate touching. Now, is it wrong to touch a woman or anybody? I mean, you touch somebody's genitalia, yeah, that's not cool. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. But should you go to maximum security prison where you sit next to killers and thugs and people that might stab you over lunch because you inappropriately touch somebody? Well, in America, they consider it to be okay as long as you're a black man. because they do not feel your pain. They do not care about you. They do not love you. They do not want to see you prosper or succeed. They want to see you locked up in chains. They want to see you dead. They didn't even want you around. They wanted your mama to abort you before you were born, because from the day you're born, you're seen as nothing more than a menace to society. You are a menace to society and white supremacy and everything in it. You're a threat to white supremacy. And that's why they don't even want your black ass to exist. Now, I probably sound mean and harsh and nasty. What I'm saying is, who knows, maybe I'm offending people with the cuss words, but I just don't give a fuck, because it's about damn time that somebody tells the truth about what's going on here. Nobody tells the truth about this. I wrote an article about it where I was warning the brothers about slinging the penises around and all that. And I thought I was doing the world a favor. I was encouraging black men to be sexually responsible, think about where you plant your seed, all of that. And I got all these feminists came after me saying I was sexist for even acknowledging that sometimes women tell lies about rape. And then I had these black men who, with these white universities, who I guess apparently they want to they achieve their power by assimilation to whiteness, and therefore what they do is they align themselves with feminist and gay rights groups to come after masculine black men, because masculine black men are seen as a threat. Masculine heterosexual black males are seen as a threat and as a menace. That's why you don't see that many of them out there. You don't see a lot of strong black men in media, because to make it in Hollywood and to get big and get on TV and all that, 9 times out of 10, you got to be gay or feminized. So at the end of the day, I was getting all these stupid messages from all these people attacking my article. None of them quoted me. None of them could quote me because they couldn't break down my logic. They couldn't break down. They could actually recite what I said and pinpoint the issues with the article. All they could do was say, well, you're being sexist by saying this. I was like, okay, well, explain to me. Tell me where did I give me, please? I'm curious. My God, I'm a professor. I really want to know. Show me where I was being sexist. I really need you to break down the sentence and tell me where I was sexist. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Why? Well, because politics morphs itself into bullshit. It morphs itself into this ambiguous propaganda such that anybody who disagrees with you is labeled in a specific way, and most people in this country don't care enough to figure out the details. It's just like, again, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you how the system works. Like when Fox News wanted to get me fired from Syracuse. Bill O'Reilly didn't actually have to say why he thought I was a racist, a reverse racist, whatever these stupid terms a lot of people use. All he had to do was show a picture of an angry-looking black man talking in silence. They had the volume muted. Nobody could hear a word that I was saying. It was just the imagery. And what I'm trying to say to you, black man, and this I'm really getting to the Ezekiel Elliott thing. I just need you to see the big picture here. What I'm saying to you, black man, and if you got a son, you need to warn him about this. This is real life, man. Real life. I'm saying to you, black man, is that it's your mere image that leads you to be convictable on sight, that leads you to be shot on sight. That's why the police will gun you down, blow your brains out, think nothing of it, because you are as much of a threat as a wild animal walking down the street. So what I would say this, so let me keep going into the Ezekiel Elliott thing. I'm not just going to sit here and rant about it. I want to give you some facts and information that at least clearly illustrate that there's no preponderance of the evidence here. There is no beyond a reasonable doubt. They just convicted him because the white woman said so, and that's what's really going on here, at least based on what I'm seeing. If there's more evidence, please. I'm an Ohio State alum. I'm a black man. I don't believe in domestic violence. I don't want to see any women get beat up for any reason. Show me evidence. Send it to me. Email me. Email my assistant, staff@boycewatkins.com. That's staff@boycewatkins.com. Send me evidence. Do you have a videotape of him hitting her? Do you have an eyewitness testimony of him hitting her? Is there what is there? I mean, don't tell me like some pictures, because that can be doctored. That can be doctored. Maybe she hit him a couple times and he threw her off him or whatever. And I mean, he's a big, strong guy. So what I learned is that you don't pick fights with people that are bigger than you and hit them first unless you want to be possibly hit back. Now, again, I don't agree with it, but it's hard for me to argue. If somebody gets hit and then they hit the person back, I don't know what to say. All I can say is, well, don't hit him. I don't hit when a guy's bigger than me. I don't hit him because I don't want to get hit back. Right. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me keep reading because before we get off track here. All right. So here's what. So the Columbus City prosecutor said he didn't believe that he could make a case because of conflicting and inconsistent information. But following an extensive investigation during the past year, the NFL announced Elliott's suspension Friday, saying that it has photo and digital evidence. So they got pictures and digital evidence. I mean, did anybody ever see, what was that, Fatal Attraction? I think it was Fatal Attraction. Was it Fatal Attraction or was it something else? Where she hit herself in the face and took pictures. I mean, that's not. I mean, clearly from what has been presented about this woman, she's not mentally stable. And let me keep going. There's actually real eyewitness testimony to that. Let's see. If evidence finding that quote Elliott engaged in physical violence against Miss Thompson on multiple occasions during the week of July 16, 2016. So it all allegedly happened during 1 week. Elliott, so it's not a pattern. There's not some sort of historic pattern of domestic violence based on what I'm seeing. Again, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please tell me when I'm wrong. I have no stake in this. I don't know Ezekiel. I am an Ohio State grad and a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I told you I don't give a shit about the NFL. I give a shit about the truth. And black men are not served well in a society that ignores the truth. Elliott's appeal game plan includes highlighting Thompson's already chronicled. So he's got text messages. He's got real evidence. See, for the black man, the burden of proof is much higher than for the white woman. White woman, all she's got to do is say, he raped me, he touched me, he hit me, whatever. And the people will believe it. The black man's got to provide stacks of paperwork and text messages and pictures and carrier pigeons and whatever. Okay, so Elliott, let's see here. Thompson's already chronicled text messages encouraging a friend to lie to police. So she encouraged her friend to lie, which means she's a liar too. So she's encouraged. So that right there undermines her credibility right there. If she's encouraging her friend to lie, then that means that your whole investigation was a farce. That means you have nothing. You have nothing. I mean, I'd like to see the context. Maybe there's something about her encouragement to lie that it maybe makes it less of a lie. I don't know. But to me, if she's encouraging a friend to lie, then that means she's a liar. Liars should not get the benefit of the doubt. Am I telling the truth or am I correct? So let's keep going. Misleading testimony to NFL lead investigator Lisa Friel and repeated threats to ruin his career after breaking off the relationship. So it sounds like she was disgruntled. She was mad because she lost her boyfriend. It's happened a lot. I'm not saying it happens in every case. We know. I mean, domestic violence is wrong. There are people that die every year from domestic violence. If you know somebody who's truly being victimized, tell them to get out of the relationship, call the police, make sure that real abusers are put away. No question about it. We're in a complete agreement on that. But you can't just send people to prison just because they're black or just because you want to believe whatever your political disposition tells you to believe. You cannot have a world where white women are innocent until proven innocent and black men are guilty until proven guilty. It's crazy to me. So here's some among quoted threats. After being told Elliott didn't want her at his house, so she tried to come see him. Ask yourself, which person that's being abused, that's been beaten, that's scared to death of this man? I'm sure she was like, oh my God, I was so petrified. What person who's afraid of their abuser begs their abuser to let them in the house? I mean, if she's afraid of him, if he's obviously this violent, scary gorilla man like you want him to be, then wouldn't you think that she'd stay away from him? I mean, most abusers I know, or excuse me, most abusive people, or sorry, abusees, if you want to call them that, abuse victims. How about that? I don't know a lot of abusers in the sense of I don't tolerate that. If I see that, I don't tolerate it. I have daughters. But most abuse victims that I know do not go out of their way to go to the house of the abuser. They don't. Especially they've been victimized and they've been harmed, severely, significantly harmed. They do not come back. So after being told Elliott didn't want her at his house on July 21st and he didn't want her coming out with him, let me see here. So he didn't want her coming out with him. Okay. He told her, like, I'm going out. I don't want you to go. Okay. Thompson responded with, quote, okay, this is what you want? Okay, then I'm going to ruin your life. You'll see. If I was you, I wouldn't go out tonight. So she's basically, imagine if a man says that to a woman. Imagine if a man says, bitch, if you go out, I'm gonna ruin your whole life. Think about how you would perceive that man. That man is clearly an abusive man. And one of the myths that people have, and I don't know if maybe this conversation is too raw for some people, but if it's too raw for you, then please walk out the door. Ain't nobody blocking you from the exit. But I didn't work this hard to build all of this so I can sit here and give you a bunch of bullshit. But look, if she, to me, again, if she really were a person who was an abuse victim, then why does she feel somehow that she can control his behavior, that she somehow has the ability to be the abuser? One of the myths that people have is that they believe that only women are victims of abuse. That's where you mess up right there. We were just making our film in New York. It's called The Black Love Blueprint. And one of the biggest myths out here is that only women can be abuse victims. That's not true. And what's unfortunate is that we live in a world where some people will use their victimhood to abuse other people, their perceived victimhood. They become the most nightmarish embodiments of passive aggressive behavior that you can imagine. That they know they got it down. They know how to cry the right way. They know how to. And then I was so scared. Gloria Allred. They get next to Gloria Allred on TV, and because it's easy to make a black man look guilty, they go out and say whatever. I mean, you saw this crazy thing with Usher and the girl who is suing him for giving her herpes, but then says I don't have herpes. I mean, and Usher's like, I've never slept with this woman in my life. I don't even know who this woman is, but they believed her because she said it. And again, I just think that it's crazy. I mean, I think anybody who believes in fairness has to see the insanity here. It's not like maybe I'm outlandish for speaking the obvious, but I mean, my God, how can we even live in a world like it's crazy to me? So let me keep going. Here's another incident. They said after being told she couldn't come to Elliott's 21st birthday party, so again, she's so afraid of him that she's begging to come to his 21st birthday party. Thompson told him, "That's the worst decision you made in your life." Then again, threatening him, "I'm going to ruin your life now." Once again, promising to ruin his life. So to me, if you're going to go after, rapists or abusers for ruining somebody else's life, why would you not go after this woman for doing the same thing to him? This man has been working his whole life to become one of the greatest athletes in the history of the NFL. He was literally one of the best running backs I've ever seen, rookie or not. And you literally are saying you want to ruin all that because he won't go out with you or he won't let you come to his birthday party. Again, these are kids. I've been a college professor for 24 years. I taught at Ohio State. I taught at University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, University of Rochester, and now at the Black Business School. I've taught in China, Europe, and now I'm in Guyana. Right? Here's the thing. Young people, they lie. Young people do dumb shit. So apparently, this girl. Why is it inconceivable that this white woman did some dumb shit? Why can't you call it for what it is? Why must you somehow politicize it to the point where this guy can't even play next season? He can't. He's gonna miss half a year. He's gonna lose probably a couple $1 million or something. He's gonna lose a lot of money and everything he's worked for because you don't know how to go out and get a piece of fucking evidence. Get some evidence. Again, you give me evidence, real evidence. I'm not talking about some pictures. I'm talking about real evidence. I'm talking about eyewitness testimony, something on video, somebody overheard. Again, like OJ. I'll give you a good example. Honestly, I feel that OJ was guilty. I really believe OJ was guilty because there were witnesses that saw him saying, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna jack you. I'm gonna do this." Whatever. They saw the abuse over the years. So that to me made me say, yeah, I think he might have done it. But what happened was because the LAPD was not a reliable source, their credibility was shot because they lied. You had to let him go because you did not have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. So my opinion on OJ was complicated. I said, look, I think OJ did it, but you have to let him go because the man, you don't have enough evidence to convict him. Let him go. Let him go on with his life. But they didn't do that because, again, in America, white folks change the rules all the time. They'll change the rules on you anytime you want. Young people who are listening, just make sure you understand. They're going to change the rules on your black ass. So you got to make sure you're diligent. You got to understand the system. You got to make sure you got options. That's why I teach about wealth building, because you got to make sure you got your money right, because they will change the rules on your black ass. You can't depend on your oppressor to take care of you. It just doesn't work. Ask anybody who's done it. Most of them regret it. So anyway, with that being said, with OJ, there was evidence. In Ezekiel's case, I don't see anything. I don't see anything saying that he was threatening to kill her over the last 6 months and that he finally got his chance. And that's when he jacked her up. And somehow she still wanted to come to his birthday party. I don't understand that. Let me keep going. But then, of course, somebody's going to say, well, you can't always understand the behavior of an abuse victim. Yeah. We know all that, but I'm sorry. But you can't. There must be a point where your dumb shit is not tolerated and excused, because I can literally give you an excuse for why Ray Rice punched his wife out. It was a moment of bad judgment. You can't always explain the behavior of an abuser. He was abused as a baby. He had brain damage from taking all them hits to the head. He was on steroids, so it was roid rage. He was drunk that night. He would never do it if he had been sober. I could say all of that, but I can't defend the fact that he was seen on video punching his wife out. He deserved to be punished for that. Now, did he deserve to lose everything? I don't agree with that. I think his wife didn't want him to lose everything. You're punishing his wife and daughter because you're freezing her out, basically saying that, like a lot of the women, they tell black women, like, oh, black men ain't worth shit. You need to get rid of black men. You just dump him, girl, and go do your thing. And next thing you know, your kids are growing up without a daddy because somebody told you that a black man ain't worth shit. And I vehemently reject all of that. I mean, I think that there's space for criticism. Yeah, of course. I mean, black men are not perfect. We know this, and I challenge black men all the time. But at the same time, we must also defend the black man's right to make mistakes, like we defend the right of white women to make mistakes. But we don't do that. We don't do that. In fact, to me, honestly, if you falsely accuse somebody of rape, you should get the same amount of prison time as the person who allegedly raped you would have gotten if they had been found guilty. That's the only way to do it fairly. But even then, again, evidence of the politics, people will say, well, no, I mean, you can't do that because it'll make victims afraid to come forward. No, it won't. No, it won't. All you gotta do is have evidence. You gotta have evidence. I mean, that's not enough I mean, the fact that you're gonna ruin somebody's life, that's a reason to suppress evidence or suppress the truth because you somehow are afraid of how people's feelings are gonna get hurt if they come out and tell a lie. I mean, it's crazy to me. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let me keep on. All right, so the report I'm reading from the Star Telegram. I think the Star Telegram's in Texas. And by the way, if you don't hate my guts by now, and I'm sure somebody does, feel free. As you know, Facebook doesn't really like black people who speak the truth. They're kind of a somewhat racist platform. So we're trying to get away from Facebook. So please get on our mailing list so we can stay connected. You can sign up. Write this down. Go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you want to come out and hang with us in person, the All Black National Convention takes place the weekend of September 29th. You can learn more by going to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, if you live in London, we'll be in London very soon. I think the URL is drboycelondon.com. So it should be up by the time you see this video. So if you go to Dr. Boyce London, you should be able to go there and buy tickets and all that good stuff. Yeah, okay. Go to Dr. Boyce London if you live in London. Okay. So anyway, let me keep reading about Ezekiel because I think this is really fascinating to analyze. I feel bad for him though because I don't think he thinks it's fascinating. I think he's probably scared to death. Let me see here. Okay. So the report also details a text message in which Thompson told Elliott, now pay attention. She said, "You better be smart and not be a dumb man. Bitch, keep messing with the wrong bitch." I don't know what that means. It sounds weird. It sounds like she was drunk. But anyway, again, she's saying like keep messing with the wrong bitch, meaning like she's not saying keep beating me and I'm gonna punish you. No, she's saying keep on doing what you're doing. Keep go hollering at that other girl. Keep ignoring me, and I'm gonna make you pay. This is no different. I've known abusers, and she's speaking like an abusive person. She's an abuser. After not being allowed, and I understand this too. I've seen it up close. I had to get a restraining order one time on a woman because you just I mean it's amazing to me. That's why I tell guys I mean you got to be so careful. I'm telling you, there's so many treacherous people out here in this world, and I just think that if you're a man and you're sleeping with any woman that walks up to you, you're putting yourself at risk. You might run into a crazy one. So let's keep going. Elliott is also after not being invited into the after party. Thompson was heard yelling and screaming that, quote, "your career is over," and then proceeded to call the police. So she called the police saying your career is over. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if maybe they had a fight and she was trying to get back to him and talk to him or whatever. I do believe that some physical altercation took place. I'd like to see just more of what happened. Maybe they just were a young couple that was fighting each other. I don't know. Elliott is also 100% certain that Thompson told him on July 22nd, quote, now this is what he says. So this is he said, she said. But if you're going to believe what she said, then you have to give equal weight to what he said. So he's saying that she told him, "You are a black male athlete. I'm a white girl. They are not going to believe you." Now let me talk about that for a second. This statement is credible to me because it is consistent with the statements that were made on text message. She's proven herself to be an abusive person. She's proven herself to be a bully. She's proven herself to be a scorned woman. She's proven that she's not afraid of him. She clearly feels that she can control his behavior on some level. So she's controlling, just no differently from the way if a man's controlling, we don't approve of that. Well, if a woman's controlling, it's wrong too. There are a lot of nasty, evil women out here in this world, and women probably who are watching understand this better than the men do, because y'all know what y'all know when y'all can play the victim, and y'all know that those who play the victim play it well, and we should all be offended by that because there are some real victims who don't get listened to, because you've got lying, fake victims out here who claim to be victimized so they can victimize other people. So let's see. So per the documents, Friel is the investigator, was unable to give a clear endorsement of Thompson's credibility because she repeatedly misled investigators. Again, her credibility shot. I mean, even the investigator, apparently, according to the Star Telegram, said that she can't give a clear endorsement of the girl's credibility because she misled the investigator. She's lying to y'all. Why are you suspending this man when this woman is proving that she's lying? Even y'all know she's lying. You did it for the politics. You did it for the aesthetics. You did not do it because it served justice. And you know it as well as I do. And you know as well as I do that it's wrong to take away this man's chance to play football. Now, again, if he's seen on video, if it's a Ray Rice and he's seen on video punching the girl out, then shit. I mean, what can I say? I can't defend that. I can only say, well, punish him, but give him a chance to rebuild his life. I do believe in second chances. I mean, we give them to everybody else. Why can't we give them to him? But at the same time, there's nothing here that says that. There's nothing that says that Ezekiel Elliott was harming this woman. But on the flip side, there's a lot of evidence to say that she was trying to harm him. So there's another article here about his son. Let's see. Ezekiel's father told Bleacher Report on Twitter, he said he's vowing that there's going to be a fight over the 6-game suspension. The post includes a screenshot detailing alleged discrepancies in the story of the woman who accused Elliott of domestic violence last July. It also includes a July 22nd quote saying, "You're a black athlete, I'm a white girl, yada, yada." The NFL suspended Elliott for the first 6 games. In a letter sent to Elliott, obtained by ESPN.com's Todd Archer, the NFL said experts, quote, were of the view that there is substantial and persuasive evidence supporting a finding that Elliott engaged in physical violence. Now, if there's evidence, then where is it? Show it. Show that evidence. If you won't show the evidence, that means you probably don't have the evidence that you say that you have. Number two, if there was physical violence, that does not mean he was necessarily abusing her. There are couples that get in fights where the woman punches the man in the face and maybe the man hits her back. Now, I'm not a fan of that. I don't believe a football player should ever hit anybody back. But the question then becomes, how much bigger than the other person do you have to be before it's not right for you to retaliate when they've hit you first? This woman has clearly shown that she is an abuser. She's clearly shown that she engages in controlling behavior. She's engaged in bullying behavior. So it is not out of the question that this woman who has lied to the investigators, misled the investigators, told her friend to lie, that she also is making the story up. Why is that hard to believe? Why am I the crazy one for saying this? So let me keep going. The league also used the St. Patrick's Day incident in which Elliott lifted up a woman's shirt and touched her breast as a reasoning for the suspension. Okay. Well, if he lifted a woman's shirt up and touched her breast, then that's not cool. Absolutely not. Now, if you're going to suspend him for touching a woman's boob, then okay. I can't defend that. I mean, you can't do that. You shouldn't be touching anybody's breast. But I don't know if you can, is that what they're doing? They're overlapping things and saying, well, because you touched the girl's boob, you must have beaten this other woman. Is that what the logic is? Is that I don't get it. That part I don't understand. Not to justify what he did, though. It's not cool. I mean, maybe if you're going to suspend him for that, suspend him for that. Just make sure you're consistent. Make sure every player, from Peyton Manning to all these white guys, Ben Roethlisberger, and all these white guys who have done worse things than that, make sure they're getting the same suspensions, and then we're good. So let's keep going. No criminal charges were filed in either case, so there were no criminal charges, which means there was a lack of evidence. There wasn't enough evidence to get an indictment or especially not a conviction, which does say something. I thought we lived in a country that's innocent till proven guilty. It doesn't sound like you're treating him like he's innocent. It sounds like you treat him like he's guilty. The NFL, however, has the right to punish a player under the collective bargaining agreement without a criminal conviction. Okay, so they got their own justice system. Okay. I am both surprised and disappointed by the NFL's decision today, and I strongly disagree with the league's findings. It said Elliott's statement. I admit that I'm far from perfect, but I plan to continue to work very hard on and off the field to mature and earn the great opportunity I've been given. Elliott has filed an appeal. Tiffany Thompson brought the allegations to light in July 2016 with a series of Instagram posts depicting bruises from Elliott's alleged domestic abuse. She said, quote, "Just for every woman out there getting abused, it's time to put a stop to it," Thompson wrote at the time. "This has been happening to me for months, and it finally got out of control to where I was picked up and thrown across the room by my arms, thrown into walls, being choked, to where I have to gasp for breath, bruised everywhere, mentally and physically abused." Well, if that's the case and there's evidence, then that's absolutely not unacceptable. I don't see evidence of that. I see a white girl who has decided to go to the court of public opinion and show some pictures and tell a story. Now, is that story true? Nobody knows, but that's why we have the courts. We have the courts that are supposed to help us determine the difference between what actually happened and what could be an elaborate lie. She won't be the first person to have lied. She won't be the first woman to have lied, but then a lot of men lie. Men lie about rape and abuse all the time. And when the bastards lie, they should be prosecuted. No question about it. Well, if that prosecution is good enough for the men, then the women should go through that too. So what I would say, the other point I'll say to you guys out here is you must be very careful when it comes to dating. You got to be careful with those white girls. I mean, it's not so much to say that you shouldn't date somebody who's not black. I'm not here to tell you. I'm not here to judge that. What I'm here to say is that you live in a society that is very political. You live in a society where if you and that white girl get into a disagreement, they're not going to believe you. If you get into a fight with the white girl and she calls the police, they're going to put you in handcuffs. And being put in handcuffs is enough to ruin your life. You ain't got to get convicted. You ain't got to even get indicted. Just a couple of nights in jail could create enough of a spiral in your life that you end up dead. You end up with your life coming to an end, not just physically, but spiritually and otherwise. There are horrible things that happen behind bars, and that's why they put black men back there, because they don't consider prison to be a place for white females. That's why white women have the lowest incarceration rate in America. Black men have the highest incarceration rate because they feel that black men belong in jail. White women do not. Um, I will say that if you are talking about this woman, and if she, made these things up, and anything can be proven, especially the part about lying to the investigators, I think the Columbus police should prosecute her ass. I think y'all need to. That's evidence. That's what evidence looks like. Evidence that you're trying to ruin somebody's life. You're trying to get them locked up. And I don't know the legal statutes, but I imagine there's some sort of law, false reporting or something, where I can't just go down the street and be like, "Oh, he tried to murder me, officer. He tried to kill me," and then try to get this person arrested, but then have no consequences. Are you kidding me? And think about how dumb that sounds, how crazy that sounds, for me to even think I could do something like that. Well, if it's crazy for me to think I could do that to somebody else, what makes you think it's okay when a white woman does it? That's my point. This ain't anti-white woman. I got friends. Like white people say, I got lots of friends that are white. No, I mean, but seriously, this ain't anti-white woman. This is pro-black man. This is pro-black people. This is pro-fairness, pro-justice. My God, when's the insanity gonna come to an end? It's the more. I swear, it makes me really think back to when I literally remember reading to the girl I was dating at the time. I was reading the email or the letter somebody had wrote. They'd written this open letter to me condemning me, but it's like some black male scholars who had been like put up to it by these white folks, because they when they want to pick a nigga fight, they don't go after you themselves. They'll send white people in blackface to come get you. And I was reading this letter like, what is this shit? I don't understand this. Like, don't they understand basic fairness? Like, don't they understand like, can they prove any of this? They're making these points, but they don't have any justification. They're not providing any links. They're not providing. These are supposed to be scholars. In scholarship, you're supposed to provide evidence of your assertion. You can't just, like, say that you think somebody's an asshole and then not even provide any evidence or any supporting documentation. At least let people go read the article so they can read it for themselves and come to their own conclusion. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that because they know that if people had read the article, they would have figured out that I'm a reasonable, intelligent man who isn't going to just say things without thinking them through. So, at the end of the day, but the thing is, it doesn't make any sense if you believe in fairness and justice, if you somehow think that the world is fair. But if you understand how the world really operates, then you understand it completely. It was propaganda. It's propaganda, man. I mean, that's how America runs. That's why I don't want to be a liberal. I don't want to be a conservative, because they're all full of shit. They all throw bullshit at each other and hope it sticks, and it's all propaganda. Everybody wants to suppress the truth so they can feed you their version of reality. And I don't buy into any of that. So I think with Elliott, I'm not supporting Elliott because he's a man or because he's black or because he's a football player. I support him because I don't think there's evidence here to take this man's career away. So I just say that for the sake of fairness, I hope somebody gets in their ass over this. Like, look, go after somebody else, but don't go after him because there ain't nothing here saying that this man did this. So anyway, that's it. But also the more important point I want to make is it ain't just about Ezekiel. I think Ezekiel's gonna be fine. He's a great athlete, seems like a decent kid most of the time. I hope he ain't running around lifting girls' shirts up because that's not cool. Ezekiel, if you're watching, don't do that anymore, and don't get drunk because getting drunk will make you do dumb shit like that. But at the end of the day, it's really for all the brothers out here watching, and the women too as well. Like you got to be careful because one lie can just ruin everything, and you got to watch who you're with, who you spend time with, who you sleep with, and all that stuff. Because you don't live in a world that gives a lot of second chances to black people, especially not black men. It's sad, but it's true. So the black man's margin of error is very slim. I wrote a book about it actually about a decade ago. It's called "What If George Bush Were a Black Man," and the whole premise of the book was on the idea that if you're a black male in America, your margin of error is extremely slim. That means that the same mistakes white folks can make and bounce back from, your black ass be under the jail for the next 800 years. So you got to be careful. You got to be smart. Black man has to be very intelligent. In fact, if you are a black man and you're watching this, we do have an organization for black men. You can join totally for free. Write this URL down. It's blackmenunited.net. Blackmenunited.net, not .com. Blackmenunited.net. If you're a black male, you can join for free. We give advice to black men. We have real brother conversations. We talk about all the issues black men need to understand. If you got a son, or uncle, a brother, a husband, somebody who wants some guidance, who wants to see where real black men live, go to blackmenunited.net. And that's, our goal is to strengthen the idea of real manhood. And real manhood means respecting black women and women in general, not just black women, but all women. But it also means conducting yourself in an intelligent way, in a way that's going to lead you to life and to prosperity and to success, not in a way that's going to lead to the debauchery that's being fed to you every single day in media. It's absolutely disgusting what's happening in this world right now. And in black people, we are like the bottom pit. We are like the bottom of a fucking garbage disposal, and they are dumping all their toxic waste on top of us, and ain't nobody saying nothing about it. Well, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it until the last day I'm on this earth, because damn it, somebody needs to bring this shit up because it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So anyway, I'm gonna go. Don't forget, feel free to sign up at drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net, so we can stay connected. Because as I told you, I'm trying to bounce away from Facebook a little bit. We're actually starting our own black social media network. I'll keep you posted on everything I'm doing in Guyana. I'm gonna go over to the University of Guyana and see if I can do a few lectures on black economic empowerment. I'm learning about Guyana. I saw a cow and a herd of horses walking down the street today. So obviously it's a little bit different, but I love it here, and it's a beautiful place, beautiful people. I want to get to know the culture, so I'm gonna hopefully do some lectures here. I'm documenting the whole experience under the hashtag Dr Boyce Guyana, just Guiana, Dr Boyce Guyana. So you check that hashtag on Instagram or Twitter. You can see some of the pictures, including the pictures of the horses and all that, as well as pictures and comments about everything I see, because I want it to be a fun experience for everybody. Because I think every black person needs to think about getting a passport, which means go get your passport, man. I mean, there's so much out here in the world that we miss because we thinking about downtown Detroit, or we worried about what's happening, with Donald Trump. There's a big world out here. One weakness of Americans is that we don't realize how much is happening outside of our sphere of influence. And foreigners know this. They look at us and they're like, "You Americans are pretty self-centered." Yeah, we are. We only think about what's happening in America like that's the center of the world. I mean, today, for example, you had all the people that died in Charlottesville, like 3 people, but you had over 300 people die in Sierra Leone. A lot of black people don't know that. So we have to grow our thinking, elevate our thinking. And also, and of course, we have the Black Business School. So I hope you'll consider joining us there. We have a lot of programs on how to invest in the stock market, how to start your own black business, how to buy a franchise, Black Money 101, Black Millionaires of Tomorrow for Kids, all that. You can find out more about that by going to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. And also that's where our flashcards for kids are located, which you can find at financialflashcards.com. These are financial flashcards I invented specifically for black children so that you can find a low-cost way to teach your children wealth building concepts that'll get them ahead. So if you want to know what I'm all about, I'm about three things. One, we need to educate our own children. Two, we need to create our own jobs. Three, we need to support black businesses. So anybody who's outside of the black space, I'm not really worried about what they think about me. I'm only thinking about what I can do to make a contribution here. So that's my belief. That's my goal. And I wish Ezekiel Elliott the best because based on what I've been reading. Now, if I read something different, then maybe my opinion will change. But based on what I'm seeing right now, I think he was served an injustice, and I think it's reflective of the kind of injustice the NFL has consistently dealt to black men over a very long period of time, which is why you ain't seen me watching none of that. None of that shit for the whole season. I ain't watching none of it. But I am watching Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league. So good job, Ice Cube. I'm real proud of what you just did over there. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Peace.